I'm really excited about tonight's topic because it's one that, um, I've kind of had some opinions about Rent the Runway, but I haven't actually used it until November when I tested it out because I felt like, in order for me to give an honest review about Rent the Runway, I just wanted to go through it myself and experience it. And I'm going to give you my feedback. I know a lot of people love Rent the Runway, and I have some ideas of where I think it is helpful. But I wanted to just share my personal experience, not only as a customer or consumer, but I also want to share my thoughts on it as a stylist for uh, the purpose of using it as a wardrobe solution. So if you have any questions, go ahead and pop them in the comments. I will be checking those. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you my feedback. And I had some notes. So there are a few different areas that I wanted to rank my experience with Rent the Runway. The first one was on inventory. So when I signed up for my Rent the Runway account, I entered my sizing information and a few other things. And then I went to search for I signed up to get 4 items, and I believe I got a bonus extra. So I got 5 items. And it took me probably about, at least an hour, maybe 2 hours to pick out my 5 selections. And y'all, I'm a very efficient shopper. So that's how long it took me to find what I wanted to try. It was before the holiday season, so I picked a few possible outfits for a Christmas party that I was having with my firm. And I also wanted to try just a couple other fun pieces. I was disappointed in the amount of inventory for what was available in my size. And so I found that frustrating. And I can only imagine someone who is not necessarily a good shopper would also find the inventory being low a problem. So out of a 5 out of 5 ranking on the inventory, I ranked it a 2 out of 5 on finding things that were available in my size that I wanted to try out. The next category I wanted to talk about was shipping speed. So for me, I felt like it took a while to get my items. They had promised me a certain date, and I want to say it took them almost a week later for me to get my inventory. And so I was hoping to wear one of the items to my Christmas party, but because it took so long, it hadn't arrived in time. And so I found the shipping speed to be slow, and I did 2 packages. So I basically only wore one thing out of the first box because I didn't enjoy what I got. Um, and so I just shipped it back. And then I also had to wait what seemed to be a fairly long time to get my second package delivered to me. So on shipping speed, with a 5 being the highest score, I rank my Rent the Runway experience shipping speed 2 out of 5. The next category that I want to rank is the return process. So I will say that I found it very easy. If you've never gotten anything from Rent the Runway, it comes in this big kind of a plasticky type, but like almost a canvas bag that's really big, and they shove everything in there. And so I will say, from a return standpoint, all you had to do, they have a little return slip in there. So you just had to put it in this front pocket. You could throw the clothes back in there. It didn't matter if they were wrinkled or not, or if they got dirty, which mine did. I only wore one thing, but that made it easy. The only inconvenience I found was I had to find a UPS store. It would have been more convenient for me if it had been a FedEx, because I have a ton of FedEx stores around me. I don't have as many UPS, but that could just be me. But overall, I would say the ability to put stuff in this bag and zip it up and return it, that process was fairly easy. So I gave that a 5 out of 5. The next category that I ranked were the actual clothes themselves, what I thought of the quality of them. Again, I'm only basing this on my experience, but what I'll tell you is I felt like both sets, that the clothes felt like they smelled a little bit like smoke. I used to be a smoker back in law school. I haven't smoked in 30 years. So I have kind of a sensitive nose. It could have been the cleaning products, but there was some kind of a smell that was not especially pleasant to me. I don't like the smell of smoke. I felt it more on the first bag than I did with the second bag, but I didn't like that. And, part of it could be, maybe it's the cleaning stringent, whatever they use to clean their clothes, but I didn't love that. The other thing I didn't love about the clothes is the fact that I some of the items were still or were current clothes that you could buy online at the time, and I'll tell you a little bit about that more in a second. But some of the pieces were, I know, last season or last year. For example, I had a rag and bone blazer that was from last year, and the buy it if you wanted to buy it amount I felt was really high. I think it was around 400 to buy it, and it was used, and it was from last year, and so I didn't think that was great. So in general, the clothes that I received out of a score of 1 to 5, I gave them a 3 to 5 on the clothes. In my second batch, there was a leather blazer that I liked in a blue. It was a color I don't normally wear, and it happened to be the buy it if you want to buy it from this price was only 70. So actually, I'll share that with you because I did like that. I kept that, and that's the only thing I wore 2 things out of the second batch. So this was the blazer that I liked. It was originally, I think, like 500, and I got it for 70. But you could tell from like the seaming that it had been worn, that it wasn't new. Of course, I don't think anyone on Rent the Runway, they're not claiming to have new clothes. But of the clothes that went to me, I could tell was a little bit worn. But to me, it was worth paying $70 because I liked it. It was like a nice brand of a jacket. So in terms of the fifth and last category that I want to talk about is the cost to buy the items. Like I said, that particular item, I thought it was worth it, and I paid the $70 to keep that. But I also was paying $140 per month for the shipments. So basically, that jacket from that batch cost me $70 plus the $144 that I paid for that month. Other items that you could have bought that came in the packages, I found there was a dress that was from Natori, which is a really nice brand. I did find it online. The cost to buy the dress, according to Rent the Runway, was around almost $300. I found the exact same dress, new with tags, from Natori, being sold for $100. It was on sale. So it would have cost me less than half to buy it new with tags directly from Natori. The other item that I found, so the one thing that I wore from the first batch was a pair of Page coated jeans, and I really liked them. But when I looked at the price to buy, the price listed was $219. When I went online to Nordstrom, the price to buy the exact same pair of Page coated denim was $219, and this was for a new with tags. And so to me, it didn't make financial sense to buy a rented used pair of jeans that I could have just bought on Nordstrom for the exact same price for a new pair of pants. So for the category of the cost to buy, I gave it a 2 out of 5. So my rankings for the 5 categories: inventory, 2 out of 5, shipping speed, 2 out of 5, return process, 5 out of 5, clothes themselves in terms of quality, 3 out of 5. I did not like the smell. And then the cost to buy them, I gave it 2 out of 5 because I got 5 items the first time, and I got, I think, 6 the second time because they gave me 2 extra bonuses. So out of 11 items, there was only 1 that I bought, and then 2 that I wore. There was a dress I wore, and there was the pair of pants that I got for the exact same, I could have got for the same price online new. So that is my kind of overall review from my experience. One of the things that I had believed before I experienced Rent the Runway is that it's not a wardrobe solution. I still believe that. I feel that if you're shopping on Rent the Runway, you can get some cool, fun pieces, but the value of what you're paying for is when you're getting rented clothes, so it's not new. And second of all, you're still having to do all the work you would have to do if you were to purchase clothes online. You're having to find the pieces that are going to be flattering for your body shape. There's no guidance on that anywhere in the site. You're going to have to actually create your own outfits. There were no outfits created on the site. If you're someone who's a really adept shopper and can go back and read all the reviews, it could take hours, but you could find really nice pieces that if you just wanted to wear it once, maybe it would be worth the $144 a month if you had 5 excellent pieces available in your size. But to me, that was a lot of work. It would be a lot of time, and you're getting clothes that aren't new. So those are my opinions about, I don't believe it's a wardrobe solution. I think it's just throwing pieces at you, and it's not even throwing pieces at you in a curated way. You have to curate yourself from a limited inventory of what's available in your size at the time. Now, areas I thought of where you might want to consider using Rent the Runway are a couple of areas. One, if you're going to be somewhere that is completely different from your normal climate. Let's say you live in Florida all the time and you're doing a winter trip somewhere really cold. In that scenario, if it's not somewhere you're going to go to often, it might make sense to, for 1 month, do a Rent the Runway and get some cold weather clothes that you can just ship back that you're never going to wear again because it's not something that you wear on the daily. Another example would be if you're going to a beach somewhere. If you're, let's say you're going on a beach resort trip, somewhere super tropical, you want to do something completely fun and different with your style, but not something that you want to just wear again on the regular or have for repeated use. That could be a fun way to use Rent the Runway. Another thought I had is if you're going to a wedding and maybe the dress code's a little bit different from the typical dress code you would have at a wedding, that might be a fun way to use it. And then the last thing I thought of is maybe when you're pregnant, depending on how soon you show. For me, all my pregnancies were different, but the first pregnancy, I probably didn't really start showing until like the 4th month when I started to need some pieces. So if you only needed it for a couple of months while you were pregnant and needed that extra maternity, that might be a good option. I'll say that with the caveat as I did not check out the maternity inventory, so I don't know how wide it is. I feel like I saw somewhere in there that they had maternity, or maybe you could buy a size up. But even so, I think if you were a good shopper, it would make more financial sense to buy things new and then um, you know resell them, or some other kind of arrangement with clothes that you buy online. So those are my overall observations.